Live. We are going to be discussing consent in marketing. And specifically, I really love my intuitive timing of things, as it always happens, because there's been a lot of conversation about The Social Dilemma, the show up on Netflix that is all about the data mining and everything that's been going on within our hi, good morning. Lots of hearts already starting off. Hi. So again, we're going to be talking about consent. It's typically not a conversation that we're used to hearing, especially when it comes to marketing. They're not things that we think go together. And I think that's part of the problem too. And it's a heavy topic, because I feel like traditionally marketing has always been non-consensual, and I feel like it's really shaped a lot of intrinsic biases that we have around everything. Hi, thanks for logging on. I'm going to wait for people to be notified to join in. I'm also simultaneously recording this on YouTube too, just as a test, so I might be looking in a few different places today, which is brand new for me, but we'll explore this together. So as I wait for people to be notified and join on, usually what happens is I like to sign on right at 11:30 a.m. and then give people a few minutes to get notified and join. So as we're waiting, I always get an international crowd that shows up on Instagram. Hi. So if you don't mind letting me know where you're logging in from, and we can get a little bit of a scope as to where everybody is. This is Fiona. She likes to sleep in my lap when I do these. So again, we're talking about consent in marketing. If you haven't seen Netflix show Social Dilemma, that is a fun one to watch. If you don't know, social media tracks all your data and sells it to advertisers. And I'm one of those advertisers. And if this is your first time joining me, my whole thing is that I believe in aligned marketing. And what that means is creating marketing and creating practices that not only are values first, but embody values in how. So we're going to go ahead and give them the opportunity. Let's see if Puppy wants to go down. Oh, that would be so much easier. Okay. So if you actually have any questions, let me know, first of all, where you're coming in and joining from. And then also, if you have any ideas about consent in marketing. Do you have ideas about consent in marketing? Have you ever experienced consent in marketing? Have you experienced not giving consent and then being marketed to? And I feel like everybody has had the experience of being added to an email list that they didn't sign up for. I know I have. So if you've experienced that, you've experienced being marketed to without your consent. So this should definitely be a topic that you're interested in. All right, I'm not seeing any questions roll in, so I'm just going to go ahead and dive in now that it's 11:35. So I'm going to ask the question again. How many of you have been added to an email list without consent? Hi, Bailey. How many have been added to an email list without consent? I know I have. I get added all the time to email lists, not even just from marketers, but also from people I know. And I'm just like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? So and then also how many of us have spoken about a product, or just been in conversation about a product or an experience or whatever it is, and then the next day or the next hour you get advertised exactly that product? Yeah, it happens to a lot of us. It happens a lot. So it's all around us, and somehow people are just now realizing that our data is being mined and it's being used to manipulate the decisions that we are taking. So hi, thanks for logging in. So it's all around us. And as a marketer, by the way, it's very interesting to be in the marketing space and also have have values, let's say, but not just have values, but embody values and see the dangers of manipulating people in a way that's not good for them. So, marketing has traditionally been created and enforced intrinsic biases, right? Like, and we're now starting to battle against it and dismantle it with many different tools, including aligned marketing, which is what I teach and preach and what I embody in the marketing that I do for myself and for my clients. And if you've joined me on these lives before, which I think we're on like month 3 at this point of doing these lives, is you know that I'm always preaching values first, values first, values first. And this is a perfect example of, embodying values is how can you use data and how can you market in a way that is consensual, because consensual marketing is aligned marketing. Like, you never want to market to people who have zero interest or aren't going to benefit from what you have to offer. Like, that's just not what we're about. So I'm lucky enough, AKA, I made the conscious decision years ago that I only work with brands and folks that are really making a positive impact in the world and our communities. And not just want to do that and have those as values, but they embody those values, right? So it's we honor those values in how we do things, in how we create advertising campaigns, and how we create our marketing strategy, and how we create our social media. All of that have the values intrinsically built in to help not just the brands grow, but also make sure that we're reaching more and more people so that they can have a greater impact. So hi. If you're just joining, we're talking about consent in marketing. So there's been a question that's been on my mind the last few days as more like buzz has been coming around about the Social Dilemma on Netflix. And the question I have is this: if the marketing, the data mining, the using of your personal like behavior profile, if that were being used to empower you, if it was being used to help you heal, if it was helping you connect to things that you were searching for, like for your self-development, would we care? So again, the question is if all this data mining, if all the, we'll simplify it and call it data mining. If the data mining and Fiona's going to bark. If the data mining were being used in a positive manner, to empower, to embolden, to help you feel good, to help you, like if you're launching a business, help you get the tools that you need to launch the business. If that's were how that data were being used, would we care that data was being collected? Now, I have my opinion on this. Hey, Daddy. I'm always curious to hear your opinions on it too. So if you do have opinions on this, like, please let me know in the chats. Like, I'm getting better about like just talking straight into the camera since I am used to just teaching this stuff mostly in conferences and in workshops. But I always appreciate your commentary. So if you do have ideas about this, like, please do let me know in the chat box. It means the world to me. So I have an opinion about this. I do want to like hold on to it though, because like to me, it's always a very interesting question. Like, if data was used to empower people, to connect communities, to help people be more autonomous and help them connect with their sovereignty, would we care that data is being mined? I do want to leave space for somebody to answer. So I think that marketing can be used for good. I mean, I don't just think that. I know that because that's what I do. And that's how, first of all, it starts with the brands that I work with. They're doing good in the world, like, period, end of sentence. Like, they're creating, like, one of them is creating affordable, general education, affordable and accessible, which during a time of a pandemic, like, we're seeing how absolutely important that is that, essentially college age students or college students can still go and get, quality education for an affordable price tag. Like, that's a huge benefit to many, many people. So I think when it comes to marketing and marketing for good, I think that there is a possibility of doing it. So part of what I want to discuss today too is how do you infuse consent in your marketing? because I know that most of the people that are watching me on a consistent basis and that are engaging with this content, I know that they want to do marketing in a way that feels good because otherwise they wouldn't be here. Like that's what I practice, that's what I preach, that's what I teach. So I know. Hey, Jeremy. I know that the folks that are here are interested in doing marketing for good. And for hopefully for good reasons of like their product is like fantastic and helps the entire world and it doesn't hurt our planet at the same time. So how we use marketing for good is a few different things. Like marketing for good, I think happens when we take into consideration the human on the other side of the screen. So often when it comes to marketing, we create these personas, we create these personas like these and they're called client personas, but essentially you're creating an avatar that you want to be targeting. Again, that's traditional speak. I don't personally use that language because I don't like to target people like they're people. But you consider the human on the other side of the screen. Avatars, yeah, Daddy says avatars. But I think that those are traditionally how we look at them rather than, and we get stuck in this idea that it's just this avatar rather than it's a human being on the other side, right? It's a human being that has cultural diversity, that has lived experiences, that has hopes and dreams and struggles and pains and all these things that they exist as a whole human. And I feel like we tend to, in marketing, box people into these avatars and we forget the humanity part of it, right? So, and it's not just the humanity, but we forget the sovereignty part of it. So just because people fall into certain avatars doesn't mean that we get to force feed them what we think is best for them, right? So just because we create a product just for somebody, and if you think about it, if you create a product for a quote unquote avatar, they still get the option to say no. And we still need to honor that. Hi, thanks for joining. So if you're just joining, we're again talking consent marketing. So the question that I can currently tackle, I'm not going to try to tackle the question today of I'm going to repeat the question because I just I would really like to have a discussion around this because I think it's just really I've been sitting in it and I've been having conversations internally and I want to have external conversations about it, is that if all this data mining, if the personal behavioral profiles, if that were used to help empower, heal. So the example that comes to mind is for example, if someone is struggling with a mental health issue, that they get information about, different therapy modalities, and that becomes part of of what content that they're seeing. Or if that's just an example. I really do think that marketing and this data can be used for the positive to help shift our collective to incredibly positive spaces, and spaces where they have help and assistance that they need, and that then they can move on with their lives. So that's not the question we're going to tackle today because that's way too much of a philosophical pondering that I don't think I can do just talking to myself on a screen. So Daddy says, I've been having so many conversations with myself about that documentary. I have so much to say. Oh my gosh, let's have a conversation about it. Let's have a conversation about it. Yes, please. It's super interesting. So what we can tackle today though, and what I'd like to tackle today is not even tackle, just invite conversation, because I don't even like the word tackle, is how do we ensure that we have consent in the marketing that we put together and that we put forward to the communities that we want, right? So the easiest way that I have to kind of frame this is, yay, Daddy says she's down. So yeah, I'm going to link up with you after this and we will have a conversation. Maybe not today, but we'll schedule a time to chat because I feel like we can go for hours about it. So the context, the framework that I want us to discuss consent in specifically is email marketing. I just feel like that's the easiest way. It's the clearest example. It's one that gets abused a lot. So I know, especially in the early email marketing days, I was added to so many email lists that I didn't consent to. And it still happens on a regular basis. So, show me in the chat box, if you've ever been added to an email list that you didn't consent to, because I think it's everybody. It's everybody. But let me know if it's you too. So, oh, actually, one thing too before we dive into the email marketing, because I put this note here too. Uh, so, if you haven't watched the documentary that Daddy and I are talking about, The Social Dilemma, basically, long story short, is that by using social media, you are granting consent to these platforms to mine, which means collect data as to your behavioral patterns, and sell it to advertisers. And Daddy says she's been added many times to email lists without her consent. And so the social media platforms will sell your data to advertisers. And I'm one of those advertisers, by the way. So like I really don't want to set the basis that, all advertisers are bad, because I know that I'm not. And I know that the way that I embody advertising and marketing is very different than most. And also I do it with a lot of intention and mindfulness, which is what I'm trying to teach everybody to do, because consent is important. So not all of them is like me. One actually clear example of a really, 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 really terrible platform, by the way, is TikTok. So TikTok was banned in Europe for a while for being malware. And it's one of those platforms that even now, like it's become a really big platform, in the US as well. And there are certain companies and brands, especially personal brands, that would really benefit to be on TikTok. However, they're one of the brands that if you have it on your phone, they don't only mine data from when you're in the app, they mine data from your entire phone, right? So if you have a banking app on your phone where you have TikTok, you've given them your banking habit, like data. They just have it. So one thing that I do recommend for clients that do need to use a TikTok strategy or want to be on TikTok is buy like one of those Wi-Fi iPods just for TikTok, where that'll be the only app that you have on there, and don't give them access to the rest of your device, the rest of all of your apps. I mean, if you think about it, how much information do we have on our phones? I know I have all my banking. I have Apple Pay on there too. Like I have, like, you could literally scan my credit card. So and like photos, like how many personal photos do you have on there too that you just like, you don't even realize that you're granting access to these apps. So be super mindful that if you're using an app like TikTok, that you have it on a separate device from all of your other personal data, if you have to use TikTok. And now Instagram has Reels, which isn't as good, but it will get good because it's the first version of it. So yeah. So circling back to email marketing, which is, I think, the easiest way to discuss consent when it comes to marketing. And like one thing we've all experienced being added to an email list. And actually, I have a friend. Actually, I have more than one friend that does this. Is that they'll just add me to email lists. Like they'll start a bunch of businesses and they'll just add me to the email list. And I've had conversations with them about how, first of all, like they don't have my permission. I don't want to be marketed to for this new business that they started. Like I wouldn't mind getting like a personal email like from them, be like, hey, listen, I just launched this, like, let me know what you think. That I'm cool with, because that's a personal conversation. I don't want to be added to an email list without consent. And honestly, like I mark it as spam. You might call it petty. I call it enforcing my boundaries. And also, like, not only is it like not cool to just add people to your email list without consent, it's also incredibly illegal. Like I think you can be fined $1,000 per email sent without consent. Like so if you were to be reported for doing that bullshit behavior, like no, like even like to tell you honestly, like I don't even add previous clients to my regular marketing list. Like I'll have a conversation with them and I'll email them and be like, hey, I have this new offering. I think you might be interested. But I won't add clients just to my email list. Like I don't do that. If they want to be on my email list, they'll sign up for my email list. Consent. And the other thing too is like it's I'm trying to think, like the easiest way that I can kind of attach consent to marketing. It's not just that you want people to say yes once, right? It's like what we've been teaching with sexual encounters, right? You want continuous, enthusiastic consent. And also, like from the brand's perspective too, like do you want to be emailing people who have zero interest in what you're talking about or what you're offering, or do you want people that are so excited for everything that you're going to tell them, that every time they get an email from you, they just like, they can't wait to open it, and they send it to their friends. Like, which person, like, who do you want on your email list? Do you want people that you forced on there without their approval or consent? Or do you want people that can't wait for, to hear what you have to say? Consent is important. So again, you want continuous, enthusiastic consent when it comes to your marketing. So I have a really fun example about so a lot of times when it comes to email marketing, the way that we grow email lists is through things through freebies, right? So you'll create something of value that that who you want to serve would benefit from. So for me personally, I have an aligned marketing checklist. It's free. I think it's like a 10-page document that takes you through all the different channels of marketing and it's just a checklist. So you can check like, hey, is this part aligned? And like, is my, I mean, it's a huge document. If you want it, like the link is in my bio, you're more than welcome to join in for it. So that's how we usually grow email lists, is why we offer something for free. Typically when it comes to bigger campaigns, we'll try different things too. So we'll have more than one free offering to grow the email list. However, usually what happens, and this is actually what happened, like I'm in a lot of different marketing forums and groups, and like there's a lot of discussion that happens. And there was this one marketing group that I'm in, there was a marketer that offered a freebie that all of the marketers were really excited about, and they all signed up for it. And apparently what this marketer did, like they had a great freebie, but then what they did is that they did not inform them of what to expect. And everybody that signed up for this freebie ended up getting 18 emails over the course of 7 days. So they signed up for like, yes, I want this free, whatever it was. And then over the course of 7 days, they had 18 emails from this one person come into their inbox. So they gave consent once, and then they were bombarded with emails. Like that's, again, like when we talk about consent in marketing, it's just like consent in sexual encounters. You want continuous, enthusiastic consent. So how do you create that consent? How do you create a space where people are reminded of their sovereignty? Again, like we've been bombarded with non-consensual marketing since marketing became a thing. Like that's the reality of it. So we often forget that we have sovereignty in these choices, and we have sovereignty in who we get advertised to. Even me recently, like there was this one advertising that came to me that I was actually interested in, and then I opted out of it. This ad has been following me everywhere. They're called following ads, right? So it doesn't matter if it's on Google, if it's on thing, like it's just I'm literally getting 5 to 6 of these ads on a daily basis. And I'll tell you hey Gabby, I'll tell you what I do, because I didn't consent to be followed. I didn't consent. Like I did consent because I'm on the social media platforms. So automatically they have my information, and by me participating in social media, that's intrinsic consent, even though it's not actual consent, in my opinion. So what do I do is every time I see these ads, I report them. Right? So if you are experiencing non-consensual advertising, there are parameters, like there are things in place that you can use to enforce your boundaries. So every time like that advertisement comes up now, like there's on Instagram, there's these 3 little buttons on the top right of it. You can click on it and you can report the ad. So I report it and I say, like, I've been seeing this way too many times. Like, I don't want to see this. I'm not interested. And that will first of all, it'll hurt them in the sense that like the algorithm, like if they get enough reports, the algorithm will stop showing their they can actually like not hurt them, but like they can stop showing their advertisement, or they'll tell them like we've gotten too many negative reports about this, you have to change your ad. But a lot of people don't know that they can report ads. You can tell them like that you're not interested in this, which will remove you, I think, for certain categories. You can say that you've seen the ad too often, which will say like, hey, their tactics are way too aggressive. You have even though you're using social media and you've granted consent to selling your data, you still are able to control some of your what you get advertised to. But circling back to the emails, somebody that actually does a really, really good job of consensual email marketing specifically is Nadia Payan, which I know Gabby and Daddy know. And she does a really good job. And so one thing that she does too, which I think is great and something that I've incorporated personally in my marketing as well, my email marketing specifically, is that she creates like she's very much about sovereignty as well. So she basically tells people straight off, hey, if you don't want to be a part of this, here's the unsubscribe button. Like I think she puts it on the top part of the email too. So you don't even have to wait till go to the bottom. It's like, hey, this is what we're talking about. If you're not interested, here's your opt out, and please opt out. So she does a really good job of it. Another thing that you can do also when it comes to like, if you're going to be doing an email lead generator or like one of those freebies that you're going to, offer your audience, what you can do is you set the expectations. Like, hey, here's the freebie that you asked for. You signed up for this, so this is what you consented to. And also, here's what's coming down the pipeline. You're going to be getting 5 emails from me over the course of 5 days that'll tell you a little bit about me. And again, if you just were here for the freebie, here's your unsubscribe button. Give people a choice. And so, when it comes to the algorithms of email providers, right? So like your MailChimps, your ConvertKit, your whatever, your Sendinblues, like all of those, when it comes to those, they would rather where it hurts you is when you are sending a lot of emails to people who aren't opening your emails. Then they'll like, that hurts your algorithm when it comes to emails. I don't think algorithm is the right word, but basically there's a back end processing that if you've been sending a bunch of emails to people who just don't open them, they will start, I believe your emails will start going straight to spam. So you want enthusiastic, continuous consent in your email marketing, because the more people are opening your emails, the more people are like, it's better for you to have somebody open and unsubscribe your email than to have somebody not open your email. Which, I mean, when I heard that, like I heard that a few years ago, it was like, oh, okay. So like, honestly, like you should be purging your email list on a regular basis. If you haven't, if somebody hasn't opened your email in 6 months, I would remove them. And I've done that too. Like I've also like brought email lists back to life. Like this is my 3rd business at this point. So I have an email list that exists from back in 2004. And usually what I'll do is like, if, what I like to do first is I like to send an email being like, hey, listen, like I'm not in this business anymore. This is what I've been up to. I would love for you to be a part of the journey. Would you like to join me here? And I think I've done like 3, like I'll do a campaign of 3, I think 3 to 5, depending on how big the email list, where like I'll send an email once, right? Just telling people what I've been up to, reminding them why they're on the list, why they've, why they care. It's because it's me. And then I'll tell them what I'm up to and like what's happening and what I would like to do with their email with an unsubscribe. If they've opened that email, that I don't email them again. If they've opened it and not unsubscribed, then I'll take that as like I basically tell them like, if you want to stay on the list, you don't have to do anything. If you're not interested, here's the unsubscribe button. So if they open the email and they don't unsubscribe, then that tells me, okay, like they're cool, like they know what's happening. They're cool with me talking to them about this new venture that I'm in. And if they don't even if they unsubscribe, then they're off the list. But if they don't open the email, then what I do is that I segment my list. So if they haven't opened the email, then I send them a follow-up email. Hey, I emailed you recently about this, and this. Again, like I don't like advertising or sending emails to people who wants a crowded inbox? Nobody, right? So why would you create a system, or why would you want them to be there if they don't want to be there? So I'll remind them again. And then usually I'll wait like a good 30 days to be like, hey, I'm doing really cool stuff. Either you want to be a part of this or not. And if they still don't open that email, then it's cleaned. Clean it out. You don't want, again, it's like a vanity numbers when it comes to social media. What's the point of buying followers? What's the point of an email list of people who aren't engaged and who don't want, who aren't interested in what you're offering? Like on a human perspective, it makes you feel like crap because you'll create some bomb content and nobody will open it. Have people that are about you. There's plenty of them. Trust me. You just you're hurting yourself by having these people on your list that aren't opening your emails. So That's like, and again, like, so you've had, back to the framework of the email list, like, so you've offered them the freebie, you have, told them what to expect over the next few days. And once you've done that, like, how do you get continuous enthusiastic consent? To me, it's about putting the unsubscribe button near the top of the email. And I always encourage that too. It's like, hey, or like just let people know what's up. Like I know, again, this is Nadia who does this really, really well. Nadia Payan is that when it comes to her launching a new program or talking about a new offering, is that she'll flat out tell her email list like, hey, I'm about to go into I'm about to only talk about this one product, this one offering that I'm giving. If you don't want to, if you're not interested in it, then here's this button and you'll be added back to the list when this campaign is done. Or if you're not interested at all, here's the unsubscribe. But think about the intelligence of that action, right? You're basically giving people permission to, like, hey, I'm not interested in this program. I know it's not for me. I don't want it to crowd my inbox, but I am still interested in you as a human and what else you might have to offer. So please do keep me on the email list. I just don't want to hear about this. How much more, like, how much better does that feel? Not just as someone who's creating the content, but as somebody who gets to receive it. Like whenever I receive an email like that, I'm like, oh, like, yes, you get it. And actually, because you even gave me the option, I want to hear about this because even if it's not for me, I might now know someone who it would be for. And because you gave me the option, because I see that there's intention, because there's mindfulness, because there's all this care that is being given to me across the screen, I want to make sure that I can create a win for you. So, I mean, that's me as a human. But like on the flip side, if I'm being followed like I have been by this ad, like not only do I not want your product that you're selling, otherwise I would have made a decision on it. Well, I did make a decision on it. Otherwise, you would honor my decision on it. Like I don't want anybody else to use you too. So I'm gonna report your not use you, but like I don't think that the tactics that you're using are fair or in consideration of the other person. So I'm gonna report the ad. So I think it's really important, like as we become more aware of the rights, the information that we are granting to social media platforms, to advertisers, to everybody else, it becomes like, first of all, it's always been important to consider the human on the other side of the screen and to honor them and to give, like, make sure that you are enforcing their boundaries and not enforcing their boundaries because it's on you to enforce your boundaries. Make sure you're respecting their boundaries and make sure that you are giving them an option to be sovereign and to have choice in how they are, being marketed to. And as people are being more and more aware, like it's always been important. And also there are people that are doing it right. So what I encourage you, if you are on the consumer side of this, if you don't have a product, if you are, mostly a personal brand, what I encourage you to do is really be aware, and start noticing when you're being advertised to, when you don't want to be advertised to, or by brands that you're not interested in. Start taking note of those and start taking note of the people who are respecting your boundaries. Start taking note of the advertisers and of the marketers who, when you sign up for their list, you feel good about it and you're excited to open their emails, every single time. Like those are the people that need encouragement. Those are the people that we want to boost. And eventually, what's going to happen is as we start to take this shift into a more mindful way of marketing, into aligned marketing, the people that are using these tactics are going to realize that the way to succeed is by respecting the person on the other side of the screen. So it's not just on us marketers to do better, it's also on the consumer to be aware and to make those choices. And again, I understand that that's a big ask because we're literally being manipulated and watch The Social Dilemma. It's pretty wild. So it takes a lot of awareness. I'm really happy for like things like that documentary to come out because people realize the depth and the scope of all this data. And also, hopefully, they realize the importance of being aware of it and making choices that are aligned with their values. So I think that's my soapbox for the day. Are there any questions? There might not be. I know I just like went on basically today was me going on a rant about advertising and consent. What do we think about that? Hey Ben, hey Greg. Y'all just missed my, what is it, 35-minute rant on consent and marketing. So yeah, oh also, I think I mentioned earlier that like if you're adding people to your email list without consent, not only is it like super fucked up, but it's also highly illegal. Like highly illegal. Like if somebody were to like have a bone to pick and really want to like stick it to you, they like I think it's up to like it's ridiculous. Hey Mike, I think it's up to like it's an absurd fine. If somebody reports you and like they follow through with it, it's an absurd fine for like marketing to people without their consent as far as email marketing goes. I think it's like $1,000 per email. Like it's not just $1,000 per email, it's $1,000 per unconsensual email. Like so per user. So if you add like 5,000 people to an email list that they didn't consent to, like that's a lot of money. Yeah. So I think that's my let me see if there's anything else. Yeah, I think that's my whole soapbox for today. It's a lot shorter. Next week, I have listed a big announcement on the schedule, which is going to be fun. So you'll want to sign in next week. Same thing, 11:30 a.m. on Wednesdays. That's when we're here and live and living life. Hi. So yeah, unless there's any questions, I know it's 12:07, so this is one of the shorter ones. The last few have been running like exactly an hour, which is a lot of talking for me. So I'm going to give y'all 2 minutes to ask questions. And if there's none, then I'm going to sign off and get some work done. There's just still people signed on and like not saying anything. All right, I'm gonna take that as a no questions. Thanks for logging in. This will be available on the gram as well as on the tube. I personally rather watch things on YouTube because you get to watch it a time and a half, and that's how my ADD brain works. Is that I like to watch things faster because it makes me focus on them, so that if people talk too slow, my brain starts going elsewhere versus like even podcasts I listen on time and a half versus if I hear it faster, then my brain like is forced to lock in. And so, hot tip for you. So this will be available also on YouTube. Also, transcripts are always posted the next day on my website. So if you just would rather read it, that's there as well. Yeah, I think that's everything. Thanks for joining in. I'll see you all next week. Again, there's going to be a big announcement next week. It's going to be a good one. Okay, have a good one, y'all. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. And I'll see you next week. Okay, bye.